They'll be thrilled to see the puppy too, by the way.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I don't know if any of you are going to get notified and join our YouTube question interview here today, but I have Bridgette Waid from the Buren Public Library here. She wanted to interview me, and so we thought it would be fun to do it on my YouTube channel from the Writing Gal, so we can get a lot of authors join us. And so I'm going to let Bridgette just kind of talk maybe a little bit about the Van Buren Library and this series that they've been doing with author interviews while I share a link around a little bit. So Bridgette, I'm going to turn it over to you for just a minute.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank you very much, Michelle, for being willing to be a guest on our show. I have a weekly segment, What's Up with B, and I've been able to interview a few local authors that we have. We do cooking sometimes. We do all sorts of fun stuff. But I was thrilled to see that you won a SWOONY Award, that you're a best-selling USA author. And I said, hey, I know that girl. I want her to come on. And so I have some questions that I've thought about and asked my coworkers and stuff, and we thought that this would be a great time to be able to ask you and get into your mind of your characters and your writing style. And we are thrilled that we are able. Oh, great. Okay, she sent me the link. I'm going to link it to the library page so that people can join us through that. So
yes, my camera just went on the fritz for like, here, let me see.
Okay. I did see where you sent the link. So now
yes.
I'm going to run over there and I'm going to link it.
That sounds great.
Okay.
So everybody that follows the Writing Gals knows that for some reason, sometimes I have trouble with my camera, but I'm going to get it back. I don't know why it's trying to do that to me. There we go. Now I'm back on again. StreamYard hates my camera for some reason. Stay. Okay, I'm good. All right, Bridgette, you can go do your thing.
Okay.
Working on her thing. So, we're just trying to live in the days of online broadcasting because she usually does these events live at the library, and we had a little bit of a miscommunication about where everything was going to be, and so we are making this work the best we can. Hold on. I'm going to send this to my fan group because they all wanted to join us today too. Okay. So how is the weather down in Van Buren? It's only about an hour away from me, but can't be that different.
No, it's sunny, but a little chilly.
Oh, well, if you've got sun, then you're doing better than us.
Okay. All right. I'm putting it. Okay. For some reason, it went to mine. Now I got to share it to the library. It went on my page, but it wouldn't let me post it to the okay, here we go. I'm going to share it to Van Buren. Please join us via this link.
I see you have some people watching already. So if you're here, just say hi to us. Let us know who you are and ask us any questions if you have throughout the thing. And at some point, I'm sure we'll get around and answer some of the questions that you might have.
Okay, now I'm coming back. Yay. Okay. I hope it worked. I think it did. Okay.
Good.
All right. Okay.
Hey, we're going. We got it done.
Okay. All right. So first of all, thank you so much. And we noticed that your books, you have all different kinds of genres.
Yes.
And so what all genres have you done?
So I like to say that I write clean and wholesome romance across genres. That's what I tell people. So clean and wholesome romance in different categories. So I write contemporary romance, I write young adult romance, Regency, young adult, romantic suspense, and even a little bit of rom-com lately. So I just started writing rom-com, and that's really connected with my readers, with my fan group. And so I'm sure I'll be writing a lot more rom-com in the series. In fact, just today I've been working on the 4th rom-com in my Shaped by Love series. And that's
the one you won the award for, right?
So that the first book in that series is the one I won the award for, and I'm currently working on the 4th book in that series, and it should come out very soon.
Oh, so, I'm excited. Oh, I'm excited. That's awesome.
I see Julie, Deidre, and Amy have joined us, so I'm excited you guys are here. Hey.
Okay, I put this is live. I edited it to say this is live. Come on in. So, yes. Okay. Do you have a favorite genre that you write?
Oh, it's kind of like when I take my kids to the gas station and ask them to pick their candy. And I love them all. That's why I can't focus on one thing. It's almost like whatever I'm writing at the moment is either my favorite thing. Oh, I'm going to be just messing with my camera through this. It's either my favorite or my least favorite. It depends on how mad I am at my story that I'm currently working. Hi, Sarah. Nice to have you on here. Yeah, so I have I think right now I'm really enjoying rom-com a lot. It's just really fun to have that extra element of sort of sass and real life funny going on. People really like rom-com because things go wrong, but you can laugh about it. And we all kind of need to know how to laugh about the things going wrong in our life. So especially with the way things are right now, it's been a lot of fun to write the rom-com and keep things on the lighter side.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. How did you find out when you won the Sweeney Award for your Man Worth Shaving For?
So the Sweeney Awards are Reader's Choice Awards that's hosted by several popular book bloggers, and they have the books available to be voted on a Goodreads list all year long. So basically, as books are coming out and readers are really liking them, they're added to the list, and readers can go on there anytime and continue voting for their favorites. And I saw in November that my book, A Man Worth Shaving For, was tracking pretty high on the list of books that were doing well. So I was excited to see that because more than just a panel of judges deciding their book is good, this is readers, responding and saying, I really, really like these books. So that felt great just to be, on there. And in, I think, the beginning of December, the organizers of the award contacted me that my book was one of the 5 finalists in the rom-com category. And there was another round of voting from the readers at that point that they could vote among the 5 finalists in all the different categories. And then I don't remember exactly what day it was, but first week of January, I just got on Instagram one day and saw their post that my book had won the rom-com award. So I was thrilled, not just because it's always fun to get an award like that, but there are so many amazing rom-coms that were published in 2020, and the finalists were just incredible. So it was definitely an honor to be in that category at all. So it's great.
That's awesome. And I like it that it was the readers that got to pick,
Yes.
I mean, that's like the real. How do you do the research for your books?
Somebody's saying I have some echo going on. Have to see if I can fix that. Did you tell me if it's getting any better for you?
Okay.
So research for my books, it really depends on the kind of book it's going to be. Everybody, you might just have to look at Bridget's lovely face instead of mine since my camera's like refusing to cooperate. So when I research historical, for example, there's so much more that goes into it because I don't live in that time period or that location because I write in Regency, England. So that is set in the 1800s, early 1800s. And I spend a lot of time looking at old maps of London and following the streets and where all the different important political buildings and society neighborhoods were. And I read about carriages and style and society trends and how to use titles the right way. So there's a lot that goes into that. And so that's why I don't put out very many Regencies, because it is so much, there's so much that goes into it. And historical readers are really, really sharp, and they know their historical information. So they know when you get things wrong. And so I spend a lot of time researching with historical. A lot of people might think, well, when you write contemporary, you don't have to research as much because it's your world and you know what you're living in, right? But it can be exactly the opposite, because I just live my life being myself in my own little world. And if I start writing about rock stars and movie stars and billionaires and different parts of the country and all those sorts of things, I need to be able to have real details that I can put into a story to make it authentic and to make it resonate and connect in a way that it wouldn't if I didn't know what I was talking about, if I just glossed over details or made things up. So one of the fun ways I've been researching lately, especially for those sort of celebrity type careers, is I have a masterclass subscription. And it's really fun because a lot of people get on those to learn specifically about how to cook or how to do this or that. But for me, I'm able to get classes by, Usher, Christina Aguilera, all kinds of fashion designers, actors. I mean, there's Steve Martin and Samuel L. Jackson and all of these people directly coming on to teach people how to do this thing that they do. And so I'm able to pull so many fascinating details about how they do it, what their life is like, how they're able to, be successful and move to the next level, and the sacrifices it took to get there. All those things that are exactly what I need my characters to know are in interviews like that. So it's kind of fun. And recently I just finished reading a book on executive protection, which is a resource for people trying to be bodyguards. And so, so I'm writing a bodyguard romance, and it's, if you watch The Bodyguard, the movie, or read various books, there's sort of a Hollywood fictionalized way that they write bodyguards, right? And I just thought it would be so much more interesting to really get into the field of executive protection and find out how the professionals are doing it from the inside. I just thought I could get so much more information that would make the book come alive and the characters come alive. So that's how I like to do research, is just to go to, as close to first sources I can get on people who are actually, doing those kinds of careers, and find out how they do it. So that's the majority of the research that I do for contemporaries, just learning about the careers of my different characters.
Well, that's awesome. And as a reader, I appreciate that. Like, you can tell when you're reading if someone knows, when they're doing. I've been doing a lot of historical fiction lately, and I really like it when I go, oh yeah, I've read that somewhere else or something.
Yes.
So the fact that you take the time, that's appreciated by the readers.
Yes.
How do you select the names of your characters?
I don't think that there's an author out there that doesn't use baby name lists like crazy. I do use them. It's kind of funny. I've written over 30 books now. That's a lot of character names.
That's a lot
to come up with. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. I just have to feel right about a name. It's like a gut instinct. And so I'll read names. Sometimes I'll go on Facebook and like read through all my friends, or pull different. Sometimes you can pull like phone book records, if you can get a hold of an old phone book, or, I actually, when my niece graduated from high school, I saved the booklet of kids that graduated from high school that year, because it's just a whole list of names. And so I pull out resources like that to try and really find, especially last names. Last names are really hard because there's so many last names out there, but I think authors get in a rut of using the same ones all the time.
Right.
So
Wow.
that's what I like to do. And like I said, there just has to be the rhythm has to feel right, how the name sounds, and does it fit their personality, and is there a way I can turn it into a nickname? Like, there's just a lot of things that go into it. And I was going to say also, my secondary characters sometimes don't even get a name until I'm done writing the story.
Wow. Well, that was the next question. I was going to
Sorry.
When you develop the characters, do you already know who they are before you begin, or do you let them develop as you go along?
With my main characters, I definitely know who they are for the most part. I spend a lot of time on my characters. I don't outline stories. I'm what's called a pantser, where I tend to just jump into the story and start writing it without having a plan written down for it. But the one thing I will do before I start a story is get to know my characters really well, my main characters, especially since I write romance. It's those two main characters. And I need to know some really important things about them, or I don't have a story. Like, a lot of people have story ideas, but the only way to make a story sort of connect and resonate and have good conflict is to know characters' backstories, to know what their goals are, to know what their flaws and weaknesses are and their desires. If you don't know any of those things, then there's not going to be anything driving the story. And so I do spend a lot of time trying to get to know all those things about my main characters. And, they come alive as I write. And that's the interesting thing. So as much as I think I know them, they come alive while I'm writing them. And a lot of readers may be surprised to know that authors feel like their characters are real people by the end of drafting the story. I like to get to know my characters well enough that they could come in and sit at my kitchen table with me and I wouldn't be surprised and I wouldn't feel like a stranger. And so usually what I do is, after I'm done writing the first draft of a story, I will go back, and my first round of edits will be sort of retouching them and their characteristics to match up who they have shown themselves to be as I've written the rest of the story. So it's kind of interesting. But my secondary characters are very much sort of beings that come into their own and pop up in my story and manifest themselves to me. It's kind of interesting. I generally know, well, she needs to have a dad, and she needs to have a neighbor, and he needs to have a boss. But it's really interesting how they just come alive all on their own while I'm writing. So that's a really fun part. I've had the bad struggle, actually, that my secondary characters are usually more interesting than my main characters, especially after a first draft. And I think it's because it's such a spontaneous way of writing them, of creating them, that they take on so much more personality that way. And I'm not going to tone down my secondary characters so that they're not as interesting. My job in editing is just to go back and make my main characters more interesting than they are. So that's kind of how my process works.
Have you based any characters on yourself?
I think that it is common among authors that the first main character you write is almost yourself. It's almost a mirror image of yourself. And so mine was, for sure. She was me. It was sort of a little bit of self-therapy for me and a little bit of fantasy for me. And I kind of got that out of my system. And as I went on with other books, my characters became less and less and less like me, which is, I think, really amazing, and what would happen naturally as you begin to learn your craft. So writing characters is a fascinating work in human nature. And we observe people a lot we pull in a lot of different personalities, a lot of different characteristics. And I really like exploring characters who are different than I am. It's a lot of fun to see if I can get into their heads. And sometimes they surprise me by what they'll do. And so, yeah, I'd say I started out writing a lot like me, and now my characters are very much their own person.
Wow. Okay. Well, when did you decide you wanted to be a writer?
I wanted to be an author since I was about 12 years old, very, very young.
Wow.
I was always a big reader. You probably were too.
Yes.
When I was sitting on my bed one day, and I don't even remember what book I was reading at the time. I kind of wish I did. But I started thinking about how cool it must be to just get to make stories up. And I had this sort of blinding realization that there are people out there who do this for a living. This is their career. That's amazing. And so from that time on, that was all I wanted to do. And it seemed like a really big ambition, an impossible dream when I was 12 years old. But luckily, when I became an adult, the world of self-publishing completely changed the whole publishing market. And I was able to become an indie author, and I've never looked back. It's been extremely satisfying and successful for me. So, yeah, I'm living my dream and super excited about it.
That's awesome. If you could tell your younger writing self anything, what would you tell her?
To finish a book sooner. Because even though I wanted to start writing when I was 12, I didn't finish my first novel until I was until 2008 or 2009. So I was 29 years old. The hardest thing about writing is to learn how to finish a book. And so many people start out writing a book and never finish it. Or some people will start 20 books and don't finish any of them. And that's where I had been up to that point, was just starting and never finishing anything. So I would tell anybody who wants to be an author, the most important thing you can learn is how to finish a book. And everything after that is just making it better and learning your craft. But you have to be able to finish something or you're dead in the water.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you. Any of people take notes here? What was an early experience where you learned that language had power?
I think that I was in high school and dealing with common self-esteem issues I think all teenage girls go through at that time. And I began actually writing poetry. And it was something that allowed me to work through my feelings and my emotions, my thoughts, and also express them in a more powerful way than I could as a sort of a shy, introverted girl. And so occasionally there would be times that I would share something with either a group of people or an individual, and it would change the dynamic of our relationship or the way we communicated, because words that were written on paper allowed me to express myself better than I could express myself vocally.
Good, good. What was your favorite childhood book?
I adored the book called The Perilous Guard by Elizabeth Marie Pope. I believe I got my first copy of it at a school book event in the school library. And I found it and read it. And I think I have read it almost every year of my life since then.
Wow. Oh, that's cool.
It resonated with me for some reason.
Who are your favorite authors?
Number one,
So that's probably like asking your kids candy too.
yes, it is. But there are a couple of standouts for me. And some of them, I don't know, will just kind of show my old heart of like, I really like older things, but I really love Georgette Heyer, who is the queen of the Regency romance. She basically began the genre. Jane Austen, of course, I love her. She was, a lot of people don't realize this. Sorry, my phone's ringing. A lot of people don't realize this, but Jane Austen was writing contemporary romance.
Really?
She was writing in her time about her time. So it was
yeah.
contemporary romance. And it was also the first romance novel when she published Pride and Prejudice. So there had been other novels that were called romances, and there were other novels that included romance. But hers was the first book that the purpose of the book, or the main plot or driving force of the book, was in fact the romance, and that had a happy ending. Because most books before then that were considered romance actually were tragedies, ended in an unhappy ending. And so the romance genre that is so strictly about two people, although that's getting changed a little bit, but people falling in love and having a happy ending of some sort, she began that with Pride and Prejudice, which was a contemporary romance novel. So that's just kind of a lot of fun. But Bridgette Waid came along, and she wrote about the same time period Jane Austen was writing in, but she was writing from a perspective in the future. So she was writing historical romance. And so Bridgette Waid began the genre of the Regency historical romance. She is my favorite for sure. So love her. And then just a fantasy shout out. I have to say I really love Robert Jordan and his Wheel of Time series, and I really like an indie author called Lindsay Buroker, who writes fantasy, some mixed with some sci-fi. I learned a lot from her and just thoroughly dove into her world. So those are my standouts.
Okay, good. Thank you. Do you remember the title of the first book that you ever read that made an impact on you? That really made you think and left something with you?
I want to say Heidi. Heidi.
Yes.
So that's probably the first full-length book novel that I read, and I read it pretty young. I got it for my 8th birthday, and loved it. And it really introduced me into what would become an obsession with reading that would often get me grounded because I would sneak off to read instead of doing my chores. But I've given each of my daughters a copy of Heidi on their 8th birthday, and my 3rd daughter is actually named Heidi. So I would probably have to definitely say Heidi.
Oh, that's cool. I like that you're have that tradition of giving them on their 8th birthday. That's pretty cool. Where is your favorite place to write, and what time of day is your favorite time?
The time of day is easy. I love to write in the morning because my brain is fresh and I'm not worn out and tired from anything else that's going on. If I try and write at night, I end up falling asleep with my finger on one key and typing, 35 pages. But I don't have a favorite place to write because I have ADHD, and I thrive on variety. If I do anything too routinely, too often, I get bored and unmotivated. So I move around a lot. I write on my bed, on the couch, at my desk, at the kitchen table, in my car. I've got Microsoft Word on my phone now, so I write at doctor's offices and dentist offices and in the car and like driving. I mean, anywhere I can, I try and get words in. But if I'm not feeling it, if I'm sitting at my desk and the words just aren't coming, I'll just pick up my laptop and move somewhere else. And something about changing locations can kind of bump me out of that writer's block and get me moving again. So I write all over the place. I always will.
Well, that's good. Probably too, sometimes when you're out and about, people watching and stuff, that probably is a little bit of extra research or something.
Oh, yeah.
Or something.
Grab some inspiration.
Yeah. Have you ever had a surprising review that you went, wow?
I've had a lot. I've had two that stand out to me. One was really good and one was really bad. So I've gotten hundreds of reviews at this point in my career, but there was one that compared me favorably with Georgette Hare, who, as I said, was my
Oh, your favorite. That would be awesome. That,
think.
yeah.
I don't think there's anything better than that, than to have a hero author and then say that you write like them. So that was definitely magic for me. And then the other one was a bad review that I found on my book. Let's see, which one was it? The Trust of a Billionaire. And it was on Goodreads. And she almost wrote a whole novel herself in the review. And it had lots and lots of gifs on it, making fun of different things or reacting to different things. And she was very emotional, very, very emotional. And she was really upset at one of my characters and my male lead. And it was more educational than like hurtful. When you do this as a living, putting yourself out there and getting reviews is part of the job.
Right.
I think that you become more of a professional when you begin to stop taking it so personally and learn to recognize that it is that reader's experience. So that review was important to me, or a standout and surprising review. Surprising because it was so long and so effusive, but it was very important for me because that was when I realized that no reader ever reads the book that I write. Because as soon as my book goes out into the world and a reader picks it up, my story is going to be filtered through their life experience and through their perspectives and their opinions and their personality. And so every single reader that reads one of my books is having a slightly different experience than everyone else who reads it. This particular reader, from her review, I realized she had had really bad experiences with somebody about a specific thing that my character did. So while other people loved that character, he did one thing that broke her trust with him.
Right.
Because of her experiences. And that ruined the rest of the story for her. And I'm okay with that because that's what reading is. Reading is not about me. Reading is about that reader and what they connect with or what they learn or what they, experience while they're reading it. And it's for them at that point and not for me. So that was a really helpful experience for me to have.
I know, last year for sure was the first time that I really tried to keep track of what I had read, and I still missed a lot. But I read a book that, she's famous author and, she's well liked everywhere. And I was scared to put down my review, but I hated the book. I didn't like how I just didn't like that. It seemed like it put us way back in the old ages as far as women were concerned and stuff. And so it made me so nervous to write only 2 stars, because I thought, oh no, people that know me are going to be upset with me too. So it's kind of hard.
But that was your experience coming through right there, your perspectives and opinions and how you viewed the world. And so it's legitimate, and other people's views are just as legitimate if they love it. And that's what a lot of authors have to understand too, is to not ever expect that everybody's going to love your book. It doesn't mean your book is not good for a lot of people. It just means it's not for that person.
Right. And I mean, I normally really like her books, but I loved, and I thought that it's very important, and I hope other writers listen to what you said, at how it's our experiences, like, we're going, how that other lady, she had a bad experience, obviously with like what your character had done, because now that you said that, and I think about that book that I hated, I went, well, duh, no wonder I didn't like it. So, I mean, thank you for that, because that just I never even thought of it like that, ooh, it's me reading this book, but it's my experiences that help, so I appreciate that. And I hope that other authors, take from that. That was pretty mind blowing to me. For me anyway.
For me when I figured it out too.
You what?
For me when I figured it out too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I just didn't even think of it like that. So thank you. We always do this. It's one of our favorite things.
Mhm.
We ask this question: if you were on a deserted island, or in our times quarantined, which three people would you want to have with you and why? One of them is a fictional character from one of your books, a fictional character from any other book, and one famous person that is not a family or friend.
Okay, so the character I'd want from one of my books is Tessa from A Man Worth Shaving For, which is the one that just recently won the Sweeney Award. Not only because we'd get along well, I think, but she would binge Korean dramas with me. So we could spend the time binging some of my favorite shows. My other fictional character would have to be the character named Amaranth from The Emperor's Edge, which was written by Lindsay Broker, who I mentioned before. She's hilarious and super smart, but she would also clean up all my messes. So she would be great to have around. And picking a famous person is really tricky for me because, like I said, I've recently become quite obsessed with Korean dramas. I love them because it's a different kind of storytelling than we have in American television. In American television, our series tend to be these kind of long-winded, winding stories that don't often have like a driving arc and a clear conclusion. And Korean dramas are completely different. It's like reading a novel from one episode. They always have a set ending, and every episode is like a chapter in a book. And so you have this full story arc in this perfect package. And so I really enjoy the storytelling in Korean dramas, and I really, really like the actors and the actresses. They're very, very good at what they do. I would probably pick almost any Korean actor out there, and it would be hard to pick which one I would want. They're so talented. They act, they sing, they dance, they model, they just do everything. They're like Renaissance people. But I would just tell everybody, if you don't know what I'm referring to, and you've never tried a Korean drama, you can watch them on Netflix, and you can watch them on Hulu. Netflix is putting out a lot of their own original Korean dramas. It is seriously like reading a novel. So you should try it out.
I've been writing notes as what you've been saying, so I'm gonna
I would even recommend people try Crash Landing on You. If you wanted to check out what a Korean drama is on Netflix, it's a really good one to start with. And I might get a lot of people hooked on it, and they might shake their fist at me a little bit, but hug me at the same time.
Okay, well, I wrote that one down. So what behind the scenes tidbit in your life do you think would probably surprise your readers the most?
I think that they would be surprised at how absolutely kind of chaotic and crazy and messy I am as a person, and that my whole family is, like my household is. Because I do tend to be, pretty productive when I get books out. And so they might think I kind of have it all together, but I don't. I procrastinate like crazy, and I forget things, and I lose things, and I'm an emotional mess, and I'm an introvert. People who watch our YouTube channel, which we're hosting on right now, especially might be surprised that I'm an introvert, because I like talking and I like teaching, but I'm definitely an introvert at the same time. So it's kind of an interesting thing. So I think my readers would be surprised to know all those things about me if they met me in person.
Cool. Well, Michelle, I am so very thankful. This has been great. And I'm hoping that they were able to see this on the library. If not, I'll see if I can post it to the library. Would that be okay?
Oh yeah, you can post the link to the video. It'll stay on YouTube for, I mean, as long as we leave it up there, forever if you want to. So you could, I don't know if you send out a library newsletter or just on your pages, but you should be able to send the YouTube link out and people can watch it at any point. Sorry again about my camera. Sometimes when you're just trying to do things like this, you get bugs in it, but I think my camera just realized that I didn't have time to put much makeup on and it shut me down.
Well, like I said, I have to wear a mask all the time now. And so I wear eyeshadow and that's it, and mascara. And today I was in a hurry. And so like I said, I showed you my makeup bag. I was slacking.
Yeah.
We were waiting to go live. So, but thank you everybody for joining. And again, thank you very much, Michelle. And we'll have to do it again when we open. A lot of times I'll have author days. And so if there's any other local authors that would like to be a part of it, you can come and sell your books and stuff at the library. And so when all this craziness gets over, I would love to have you back again.
Thank you. That'd be a lot of fun. I appreciate the invitation. It has been a while since I've been able to do anything local because of this. It's sad.
Oh, I know. Okay, well, thank you very much, Michelle. And we're going to sign off now. But it's been a pleasure to have you. And so thank you for now.
Same here. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.